Welcome back. The Western Cape Labour Department has shut down Sea Harvest Saldanha Bay plant, one of the province's biggest employers. It's been temporarily closed for contravening occupational health and safety standards. The department says the company's risk assessment doesn't cover any of the latest COVID-19 regulations. 80 Sea Harvest employees have tested positive for coronavirus so far. So I'm joined now by Tibo from the Labour Department. Tibo, thanks a lot for joining us this evening. So Sea Harvest was in possession of the latest risk assessment, however, did not cover any of the latest regulations. Take us through some of the findings that you experienced at the plant.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity given to us as the Department of Employment and Labour. So some of the issues that we have found has been around the biometric systems, and one of the big issues was social distancing. Now, these are issues that are common in many companies that we do visit. Biometric systems, of course, not so. But when you find that you are having workers become sick, let's say at the workplace, and you do the investigation and you find that that is the case, then surely it should tell you that there's something wrong. Now, part of the risk assessment issue that we found was that the risk assessment did not comply with the latest COVID that was published on the 4th of June by the Department of Employment and Labour. And there were significant changes that came about in this latest direction, as we refer to it. So the risk assessment is supposed to guide you and allow you to draft a plan that will in fact tell you what are your more critical areas that you need to address and what are the less critical areas. Of course, the expectation would be on the more critical side, you expect an employer to react immediately and try and reduce or to remove the level of risk entirely insofar as that is possible. Now, if you talk about social distancing, there are a number of things that you can do in order to reduce the level of, the spread of the virus, or if you like, the converse would be the containment of the virus. And in containing the virus, it means that those issues or areas that have been raised should be complied with. Failure to do so means that you are in fact facilitating the spread of the virus. So these were just some of the areas. One of the other big key issues that we find with employers generally, as in this case, was having third parties on your premises, your contractors, and so on. Now, you cannot allow a contractor to come into your premises where that contractor is not complying with your requirements or what you've assessed for your risk assessment to be critical. So now you do all this work, you put everything in place, and then you allow a third party to come into your premises, and they are not managed and monitored in terms of compliance. And in this particular case, we are happy to report that the employer has in fact moved to comply with the requirements that we have requested them to do.
But did the actual company, did Sea Harvest provide you with any reason as to why they were not adhering to the stipulated COVID-19 regulations in the first place?
Well, look, in these instances, you get 10,000 different excuses. The main thing is that where there is non-compliance, we try and get the employer, we get the employer to comply.
And you've subsequently closed down the plant. When will it be reopened?
There were 3 prohibition notices served there, and my feedback is that quite a bit of work has been done to comply, and they will be allowed to open, obviously after they've complied with the 3 prohibition notices.
When are you hoping that that time will be, Tibo? Are we talking here a week's time? Are we talking a month?
No, not at all. They've already, I'm told that they already comply with the 2 critical areas. And the third one, it affects their third party, which means that that side, they don't allow anyone to come into their premises unless they comply, which means that that is not as critical. But the other 2 areas they do. And so from most likely tomorrow, I'll follow up with my team. Most likely tomorrow they'll be allowed to open. I've been told that they do comply, which means that they would have permission to start up.
Yeah, but then how then do you feel about the fact that we've got somewhat more than 80 employees that have tested positive for COVID-19 as a result of this not complying, and the employer really, as you're saying, giving excuses as to why not following the regulations in the first place?
Well, I think that is obviously the million-dollar question, as it were. In this particular instance, the employer was willing to comply, and we are willing to work with them to get the premises to comply. Our sole purpose in terms of our vision as a Department of Employment and Labour is to assist employers to comply. The 80 workers that did unfortunately fall ill, we will do an investigation in that regard to determine exactly what did transpire there, and if we find that the employer has reneged on their responsibilities, we'll take the matter further from there.
Saldanha, we're going to leave it there for this evening. Thanks a lot for joining us, shedding some light in terms of that closure of Sea Harvest that happened after numerous processes were served as well, and given the fact that they did not indeed comply with the COVID-19 stipulated regulations, they were subsequently closed. We're waiting to see when exactly they will be reopening.